Hi, I'm Bob Hughes with JD Squared, and what we're going to demonstrate in this video is some of the control features of the HP-100 CNC press. Now, you might already know by checking out the website or whatever that the computer, we do have a video on this by the way, is completely updatable in the field. So what that means is what you're looking at right here may be slightly changed a little bit in the future as we add more and more features. Customers give us feedback, they ask us for features, we evaluate, say, hey, that's a good idea, let's pop that in. Since we do all of our software and electronic development in-house, these are things that we can implement very, very quickly. But right now, let's talk about the control system. It's a 7-inch Windows-based touchscreen, and she's operating at 533 megahertz. That is strictly for the user interface, has nothing to do with controlling the press. In the electronics panel at the rear of the machine, what we've done is we develop our own PLC, programmable logical controllers, are developed in-house. We're fairly lucky. My son is doing his PhD on robotics and automated stuff like that. So we have an inside track on development of that kind of equipment, and he is the one who's developed the board. What this means for you as a customer is, I've been in this position, and you might have been, where all of a sudden you have a machine and it breaks down, and you call that company up, and in our case it was a burning machine, and the machine was about 10 years old, and we called them up and they informed us that they could no longer get those boards for the machine, but they'd be happy to sell us a new $62,000 machine. I wasn't happy about that, so we built our own flame machine. If you want to stop by Johnson City, Tennessee, we'd be happy to show you what we did. And we eliminated that problem. What I'm getting at is essentially we are the creators of the board. We literally designed it. It's a 4-layer board from the ground up. So any changes we make, we're intimately familiar with this board. We can take care of it. The board has features in it. For instance, it has its input and outputs are optically isolated from the machine itself. What that means is you could actually have one of your workers screw up and weld something on the machine, like lean a piece of metal and weld. Now, anybody who's operated around CNCs or whatever is going to automatically know that it generally is a no-no. And since we know that this machine is going into the fabricator's market or the fabricator's workplace, this is a possibility that you're going to get that one employee who's not thinking or he accidentally forgets and he's going to weld something. So we've optically isolated the control system from the machine to prevent the control system from being burned out, you know. So that's one of the features that we put into it. Now, if we look at the actual the front panel here, you've got your e-stop right here. You know, when the e-stop goes off, that leads us to the speaker. What the speaker is there for is two purposes. One, you just heard. It's going to sound an alarm when anything goes wrong, and that will alert other people in your shop that they need to at least investigate what's going on. They can audibly hear this thing going off, you know. Now what's happened is that speaker also serves a second purpose. If we were in auto mode, there's 3 modes up here: manual mode, auto mode, and setup mode. If we click the auto mode right here, we have a programmable language. We can actually program a line of code in it to where that speaker will sound whatever wave file you want, but we'll get to that in a minute. But that's the second purpose of the speaker. Also on the front panel, we have a USB port. The USB port, once again, is really for auto mode, and that would be if you wanted to load and save programs. You can save programs in a couple positions. One, for instance, would be to the USB port, so you could take it in and out. The other, there is a 4 gigabyte SD card, 2 to 4 gigabytes, whatever we put in it, and that you can store memory on it. And what that means for you is where our competitors' machines, at least the ones in the mid 20,000 range, I think one of them will let you store 100 programs with 8 bins in it, you know, specific bins. Our machine is a programming language. You program it where to go, where to return to. You program it what to say. If you want to do a sound bite to where you have you remind an employee to make sure that the hole is to the right, it'll take care of that. So this is where you would use the USB. You have the on-off for the control. You have the on-off for the motor. Let's quickly look at the interface here. You have your RAM position, you have your indexer position. Since this machine is not equipped with an indexer right now, we're just going to see dashes. Right below that, you have your inch and your metric buttons. Right now she's in inch mode. If we were to click the millimeter button, now we're in millimeter mode. So if we were to stroke out, we're now reading off in millimeters. Now we're reading off in inches. Just that simple. Comes with a keyboard, and the keyboard features are, let's go back to manual mode. The keyboard features are, essentially it's a full keyboard. You can go between letters, whatever. It also has a built-in calculator into the keyboard, so if you need to do some quick math or whatever, it's actually built into it. Now, up here, you have messages that will be coming from the control system to this computer, will be telling you will be displayed right there. Anyway, I mentioned we had 3 tabs right here. You've got your setup tabs, etc. Now, under the setup tab, let's talk about that. That's the easiest, real quick. It's got dual purposes right now. One of them, it shows you the status of the switches and the inputs and the homing of the machine. Right, for instance, right now we know that the RAM has been homed. We know that the e-stop is active. Essentially, the way the e-stop is designed as a machine, it's always on. And what it is the machine is triggered when the e-stop is disconnected. And you go, well, why would that be? And the reason is if we lost contact, a wire frayed or anything like that, well, the machine, if it was wired the other way, the way that most people think, the machine would always think the e-stop is there because it hasn't been turned on. So what we do is we turn it on, and we monitor when it turns off. So if that wire's frayed, this machine isn't going to do anything. It's going to think the e-stop is hit, and until you fix that wire. That's very important with OSHA compliance, and believe me, you do not want to go to war with OSHA. You will lose that real quick. So anyway, the setup also has a second feature in it, and this is in another video on how to update the machine, and it's the program update. The top part of the screen will let you update the firmware in the field. All the software for the HP-100 is free for the life of the machine. So as over the next year we interface it to robots, automatic loading systems, we add more to the programming language, you can be rest assured that you're not going to get charged a nickel to update your computer to the very latest standards. That's very important for us. All right, so that's the setup tab. If we go to the manual tab, you're going to see under the RAM, you have 3 boxes. You have a target location, and what the target is you're telling the RAM where I want you to go. So right now it's set at 3 inches. Now let's say we were to go to change that to 4 inches. If you double tap it, come on. All right, we double tap it, and we set it at 4 inches. Watch this green light right here. What it does is it's gone red, and what that's telling you is you've rechanged the target, but we have not sent it to the machine. The machine does not know about the 4 inches. As soon as we hit that, the light goes green. Now the user interface and the machine are in sync. So if we were to turn this thing on and run her out, she's going to go a little bit past 4 inches right now, and that'll about 39 thou past 4 inches. So let's return it back, kill the motor. And what we're going to do is the next box is the actual undershoot. This is where do we want the machine to turn off the solenoid prior to getting to our target. Now later we're going to be adding the feature. It's already built into the control system, but we don't have the hardware design yet. But we will be adding a PWM solenoid control system, and what that's going to allow you to do is eliminate the undershoot, and the valving will actually slow itself down and stop dead nuts on within half a thou where you want to go. That option could be as much as $600, $700, $800. We're just not sure, but that sounds about a reasonable area. However, in our experience, with all the bending we've done, what we typically see, like right now we were 39 over, we're at 5. So let's just go ahead and let's change the undershoot here to 0, I don't know, we'll just say, 42 just to do it. Now notice the light went red. We're going to hit it. We've sent it, right? So what we're also going to do on this is we're going to go to the third box right here, and we're going to set the undershoot, the return to 3 inches. And now what the return's going to do, let's hit the button. What the return's going to do is the machine is going to return back, and at 3 inches, it's going to turn off the solenoid. So she'll run a little bit further. The idea of the return point is if you're in an automatic mode, like you're in auto mode, and you're doing a radius bend where you're making a series of hits to radius this part, you don't want the machine returning back to 0 every time. What you want it to do is return to a return point a little bit off the part so that when you hit it, it's a very short travel. That's what the return mode does. So in this case, what we're going to do, let's quickly, so we don't have to stroke it out very far, let's change this to 2 inches. Let's set that. Let's change this to 1 inch. We'll set that. Now let's hit it. And what you're going to see, all right, we're about 7 thou off, so we'll tweak the undershoot a little bit if we wanted to. We're not going to do it now. Now when we let go of it, now we're just a little past 1 inch, but the RAM has not gone back home. Now here's the deal. Let's say you're bending and you're out, and you're physically, I mean, you're visually, you're looking at your part and you go, I haven't bent far enough. You can actually double tap that and say, hey, I need to go another 1/10 of an inch. As soon as you hit the set button with the pedal down, she will move out that distance. And that lets you fine tune it a little bit as you go along. Now what we're gonna, now if I come along right here and I set this to 0, the return point, and I set it, the machine does not return to 0. That's a safety feature. What you have to do is touch the pedal and release it. Now she'll return back to 0. That way you don't have any unwanted surprises of the machine returning on you. Now the setup has a couple other features. This is for the index gauge. These buttons would control running in and out. Creep mode means that if you're manually moving it, you go into creep mode, and what it does is the indexer moves very, very slowly so you can creep up on where you want to go. Or you could simply type in, you know, hey, I want it to go to 12 inches, go to, and away she's going to go, you know. Now, the last item on the manual is the operation mode of the pedal. The pedals we use a mil-spec 4-pin connector, and we offer two kind of pedals, or pendants. We have a single pedal, and then we have the dual pedal, which has the extend mode and the retract mode. So in single pedal one-tap mode is what you've been seeing, is when you push the pedal down, the ram will extend, and when you let up on the pedal, she will automatically retract. In two-tap mode, when you press the pedal down, she will extend, but when you release it, it will hold this position until you tap it again, then it will retract. And you go, well, why would you want to do that? Well, it's simple. There are certain people maybe using this press for quality assurance testing, and they want to bring a particular component that they're testing under a certain load and hold it for a certain amount of time, but they don't really necessarily want to write a program to do. They just want to do it manually. This would allow them to do it. Some people are a little more comfortable with the machine stroking out and stopping. Gives them the time to, okay, yeah, this is everything good, then we'll retract it back, you know. And that would also be beneficial in some other situations, but you know, those are the main ones. The last mode is dual pedal mode. Dual pedal mode literally means what it says. You've got two pedals. Left one is going to extend the cylinder, and it will not retract until you hold down the right pedal, then she'll retract. That's the modes. Now on to the auto mode. The HP-100 comes with a programmable system. So on this page, what you see real quick is you see a counter up in this area here. Now what this does is you can reset it to 0. Let's say you've already done 100 of these parts. Let's say you've already done 102 of these parts. We go ahead and preset that if we want to 102. At that point, every time you run the program, she's going to increment that counter up one time. So it kind of like helps you keep track of what you're building if you're building a customer. The main part of the screen is right here now, and this is where we do our programming. So on our left side column, we have 5 buttons: add a line, delete a line, insert, copy, and paste a line. So for instance, I'm going to use a stylus here out of I believe it's a DS Game Boy or something like that. If I was to pick that line right there, and now I hit insert, what I've done is I've inserted a line. Now I can go into this line right here. Let's go to the alphanumeric part of the keyboard right here, and I could say RAM target. Where's the equal sign at? And this is another feature. If I hold down the D, you can't see it in the video, but above the D there's a little equal sign. If I hold it down, you'll see the equal sign show up. I can now let go of it and the equals put there. That way you don't have to go back and forth between alphanumeric, you know, the different keyboards and all. And then I can come along right here. Now in this case I'm going to go back to alphanumeric, and I'm going to say, hey, I want the RAM target at 4 inches. What it's going to do is on that line of code right there, the RAM, it's going to go out to 4 inches. Now I did not set a RAM undershoot or a RAM return, because what the program is going to do is it's going to go to the one that was preset before it, you know. So anyway, we like that right there. Now at the beginning of the program, up here in this very first line, I put MM equals, and in quotes we have bsafe.wave. And what that is this controller has the ability for you to record a file or a sound bite. So you say, hey, make sure that the hole is to the right to prevent a part from being bent in the wrong direction. She'll actually say that for you over the speaker to inform your employer user to make sure that is the case, you know. If you have, and then let's just say one other thing. Let's just say, for instance, we wanted to copy this line or whatever. you can hit copy. Now if we go up here and we say insert a line, and you come now and you say paste, we've now copied that line up there. So from the point of view of programming, it's fairly nice. You know, it's real easy to do. Now over here is a button, a rewind button. If we hit the button, all it does is it rewinds the program back to the first deal. And the reason that is, let's say you got a program 30, 40, 50 lines long. Now even though, I'll show you here, let's bring this thing up here and we're going to add some lines to this program. You see the scroll bar pull up right here. So you can now scroll up and down, but if you got 40, 50 lines, you really want to go scroll it. So if you want to restart the program, just hit rewind and you go back up. Auto sequence, what that does is you're here at 4 inches. Let me get on that. All right. And what you're going to do with auto sequence mode, if it's off right there, if it's on, she's going to sequence through the program. If you turn it off, come on, if you turn it off, it will execute that same statement over and over and over. Now, what that does is, you know, sometimes you may want to not even write a program. You just want to hit the same thing over and over. The other thing it'll allow you to do is to, you know, essentially fix errors. Like the other thing you can do, for instance, let's say you started a program, you got 3 or 4 bins into it, and you go, oh man, Joe didn't weld on the tab like he was supposed to. What you're going to do when you start the machine up is you'll just go to that line of code, and the machine will now execute from that line of code. It does not have to start at the bottom. You can execute anywhere you want. The last feature on the auto mode is the load and the save. Now, I believe I have a USB. Yes, I do. I have a USB right here. So let's pull out the USB deal, pop the USB drive in, and what we're going to do is right here the program is entitled, because this is just a quickie. We haven't saved it. But let's go save the program. And what we're going to do is we're going to save that program as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just for giggles. And then we're going to say, okay, all right, the program successfully saved is the message that we're getting. Now, if we wanted to go, and it also says up here that now that's the active program. Now, if we go to load and we say, let's go ahead and, well, we don't want to reload that program, so let's get out of that and let's save it as another number. So this time we're going to save it as 98765, and we're going to save it. So now we have 2 programs. So if we go to load, you can see where you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 6, 7, 8, 5. If you go back to the main controller, we're on that last program we saved. So if we want to bring up a previous program, highlight it, hit OK, voila, we're there. Now to show you that does work, let's delete a couple lines. Let's save this one. What it's going to ask me is the program's already on the deal. Do you really want to overwrite this, or do you want to cancel? So it says, yes, overwrite the file. No, I want to enter a new name, in which case it will bring up the dialog and allow you to enter a new name. And that would be if you want to copy a program or something like that. And then, or cancel. So we're going to say, yeah, overwrite that thing. Now, there's our program, 1, 2, 3. We're going to go load the bigger program. Hit the OK button better. And there it is. And then if we go back to our other program, there it is. And that's the main features of the automatic mode. Any messages you get here, the only other button I can see on here is you can clear the messages, you know, that you get from the machine. You may be wondering, how do we know where the location of the RAM is? What mechanism are we using to get to that location? And what it is underneath this panel right here, we use a linear magnetic encoder system. It has a resolution of 5 microns. That's 5 millionths of a meter. And what that is in English or in imperial terms, that's less than 2/1000ths of an inch resolution. That does not mean the machine is accurate to that. I don't know too many machines are, especially machines under 10,000. What that means is we know where we're at on that encoder within 2/10,000. Obviously a little bit of play here, a little bit of play there. We're not really sure what the accuracy of the machine is. We'll tell you straight up. We think it's a couple thou, maybe a little bit best, but we've never run into an issue. But the encoder system we put in it is extremely, extremely accurate. Also fairly expensive system. That is pretty much it. I can't really think of anything else to talk about on the control deal. And once again, we do have quite a few features that we are bringing out. And anytime we bring out a new feature, you'll be able to go to our website, download the files, update your computer, and voila, you've got the latest and the greatest. Anyway, thank you for watching the video, and hope all your fabricating jobs go well. Bye-bye.